Hello there, welcome back. Going a wee kind of daily donor. This day we're going to go to the old cemetery just along the road there. Obviously in light of the coronavirus, all the guided walks are cancelled, so I'm making a point of getting out and doing these walks solo so you can get a chance to see some of these places. And I'm personally using those odd days to just get some exercise myself, but obviously just going these places myself. So some of you might never actually been to the old cemetery. We'll have a wee look around there today. I'll tell you a wee bit about the history of the place and some of the unusual things maybe associated with graveyards. Without further ado, just to show you where I am right now. This is the cemetery, the man's cemetery, which was built about 1902. A guy called George Brown designed it. He became a famous architect in Dundee apparently. It was finished about 1906 when they put a wall round about it. And just over the brae there, you've got Glassford distant there, and if you just a wee bit over to the left between the pylons is the old Glassford stones. Worth remembering, just where these sheep are in the forefront there, that's where St Ninian's Holy Well was, and that dated back to prehistoric times. Unfortunately it's disappeared now just with a landslide, but these holy wells were used for, in days gone by, people made pilgrimages there and made wee offerings. And some of the Christians actually adopted some of these pagan sites themselves and used them for baptisms, believe it or not. There was one actually there as late as I think it was 1830s. I think it was the Reverend Hamilton made one there. So we'll go a wee donor up the road and see what we can see. A lot of you have walked this road before yourself many a time. This is a man's road, otherwise known as the Allens, named after the farmers at West Mains, East Mains. On the side here, just in there, I don't remember it myself, I remember the foundations, but that was where Ringwell Cottage used to be. And we've put some photographs up of that in the past, but it's just disappeared over the years. There was a landslide there and the back of the house started to disappear, so it's taken down. This is also quite an old road. It was used in former times just for moving cattle about from one place to another in ancient times. But the actual site of the graveyard itself is quite interesting, because it was formerly, or in fact still known today, as one of the oldest sites associated with Ninian. If you don't know Ninian, he was born in about the kind of 4th, 5th century, around about then, and came up for the Solway and used the Roman roads to convert the pagans to Christianity. And it's believed that Ninian or one of his disciples came to the site, the old graveyard here where we're just walking to now, and set up a church here, and it's dedicated to Ninian himself from at least the 9th century. So here we are. So it's an ancient site. Also worth remembering as well that all the other graveyards round about here, including Glassford in 1633, thought that this was an ancient site associated with Ninian, because they used to come here and take a wee scoop of earth, and they'd use that earth to consecrate the grounds of their cemeteries and their churches. So even they thought the association with Ninian. So here we are at the gate. There the old sign there. We'll show you what's in the back of that a bit later on. And the entrance gate and the old turnstile and the gates. In fact, I can remember actually, it must have been the 1980s. These gates were actually, you can see it's still there now. I think it was around about 82, 83, something like that. The gates were damaged in a storm, and that storm actually brought a tree down, which used to, there's my finger, you'll get used to that, and it used to have there used to be a tree there known as a witch's tree, and the lightning struck the tree and hit the gates down. However, lo and behold, there was actually no witch there. In fact, it's unlikely any witches would ever be put in a cemetery, because it was consecrated ground, and it was seen as bad luck to put anybody who was of a witchcraft variety in there. So that's the pathway in. This is where you're heading to. And as you know, if you are coming up here during the crisis, try and come alone, or if you are coming, come only with the right family, and you keep your distance kind of 2 metres apart. In fact, as you can see in here, they're doing a wee bit of social distancing, keeping 2 metres apart. Now, where will we go? I think we'll take a wee donor right round. Worth remember actually that you're, as I say, you just get a wee view of the place. There's quite a few famous folk actually in here, and we'll meet a few of them as we go in. In fact, just as we actually come in the gates, it's worth mentioning a couple of famous folk. First one is the guy. In fact, the guy actually invented the crossword. He's in here as well. See if you just look 3 down and 4 across. There he is there. Okay. Now, first boy we come to. Here's a local bard for most pubs. This is the man himself, Robert Burns, and he's a flesher for Stonehouse. And you'll notice there's actually quite a few trades in here, like carrier, which meant postal worker, which are unusual today, but a flesher basically meant you were a butcher. In fact, coincidentally, I remember useless bits of information, it was actually a flesher or butcher for Stonehouse, a Mr. Lowe, who was one of the founding members of the Burns Association when it first started. So, without further ado, we'll walk down and see what we can find. There's quite a lot of old stones here, as you'll know. In fact, the variety is absolutely amazing, but there's a lot of carved stones, and you'll see these throughout the cemetery. This is an interesting one here. This is to a Mr. Craig, and as you can see down the bottom there, you get a skull and crossbones. If you see a skull and crossbones, that simply means death. You'll also notice just at the very top there, there's a wee thing lying on its side. Now, what that is, that's actually an hourglass, and that just means that your time has ran out. However, if you see it lying on its side, just like that one there, that means there's a young person been buried in there. They've been buried before their time, because they're too young. Now, some of you might actually heard the wee poem when you were younger. I think it went along the lines of, down the close and up the stair, Button Ben with birkin hair, bucks the brother, hare's the thief, knocks the man that buys the beef. Well, that goes back to a time of the body snatchers, and it's believed that this may actually be, as well as being a gardening shed, may also be what was called a watch house. And these watch houses in ancient times were basically put in by the local congregation or parish to protect the people from body snatchers, whereby around about the 1830s, when Burke and Hare were kicking about, they would come down here, these grave robbers or resurrectionists as they were called, to try and steal or exhume the bodies of the recently deceased. And what would happen is they'd take these bodies away, and the likes of Dr. Knox, who was buying these bodies for Burke and Hare, they would take the bodies and use them for medical exploration and experiments, and there was a bit of money to be made in it. So they put in these watch houses, just like the one here in Stonehouse, for people to come and sit in until the body had decayed. So basically they just watch over the body, possibly for quite a few days, or in fact probably even over a week, till the body had actually deteriorated to such a state that it was actually worthless to science. And they'd come up here and they'd set all sorts of things as well to try and catch the body snatchers. Like they would try and put in gun traps, they'd put lines in the ground, these lines of yarn, where it would be set up next to a gun trap, and if you tripped over that in the night you would get your leg blown off. So however, they found that was quite dangerous to the locals as well and stopped using these. Other things they did, however, were put in mort safes. These are large iron frame bits of apparatus which we would put into the ground, and they were so heavy that the resurrectionists couldn't take them out. It's worth noting actually, just as we're taking a wee donor down here, there's at least 3 cases of body snatching having taken place here, or attempted at least. In fact, one was partly successful, when 2 gentlemen came up here in the dead of night, and they exhumed a young girl's body, and believe it or not, they were so gallous about it, and it had been winter, it was a cold night, they were so gallous about it, they went down to the Black Bull, and they were upstairs actually having refreshments, and the body was left outside in the horse and cart, and had a big cover over the top of it, but some children were playing outside, and they pulled the tarpaulin off to see the young girl, and one of them let out a scream, and the townsfolk then came running, and they made their own haste away for the village. One ran down Union Street, managed to get away. The other one ran down the valley, down the braes to Lintach, up towards Milhew Bray, and before he got up there he realised that he was going to get caught, so he hid under a wee culvert in the ground, and while he was waiting there he thought he'd have a wee drink out his tin, and a wee bit of tobacco in his tobacco tin while he was waiting for the townsfolk to disappear. But here the Dugs heard the tobacco tin opening, and it went in and they ripped his body apart. So there's a happy wee tale for us. Right, we'll make our way further down again. And here we're heading down to, you'll see quite a lot of these stones as you've been passing by. There's quite a few lying down, believe it or not. So, since the Heritage Group got started, we've raised nearly 150 of these stones, but some of them are just so badly damaged, or so large we can't get them raised. We had a team in here about 1995, 96 and raised them, but we've had a few projects to raise further stones, and we've raised most of them, and we've recorded every single detailing on the stones as well. This one here is actually a local doctor, and it must have been quite popular with the ladies, because it says here that the stone was raised by some, what was it, the phrase it was used, I think it was I can't bloody remember now, some affectionate ladies for the town who were thankful for his endeavours, whatever that meant. But anyway, here we go. We're going down now to see another carved stone right down the bottom. Here we go. You can't see it great, but in the centre here we've got a cutter, and at the side we've got a spade, and at the other side there's a spade in the top. There's what looks like a wee hand, but what it is, it was only identified years later, it's actually a crown. And on the other side, there's no writing on this one, just carvings. You've got the hourglass, you've got the skull and crossbones, and the heart. Skull and crossbones simply means death, the heart just means divine love of God. But getting back to that, oh, just heard a wee woodpecker up there, is the crown and the symbols there. These are the symbols of a tradesman, and the crown means that he's a master tradesman. If you see a crown itself, it usually means a crown of righteousness in the biblical sense. And this place is absolutely full of carvings, and it's one of the best examples in Scotland because of just the range that you can find in here. Another skull and crossbones. What's interesting about the graveyard here as well, as we look up the hill there, is that you'll notice one thing right away, is all the gravestones are facing east, and that is believed, or it is thought that was the case because all the gravestones are basically looking east as we are now, because it was believed at one time that Jesus' second coming would be for the east, and that's why they're all facing east. Full of useless facts. Other thing as well as you find with Scottish graveyards, it's worth noting, is that all the gravestones in here have the women of the village, they're known by their maiden name, and that's not the case anywhere else in the world. Only in Scotland does that happen. Other thing as well, somebody was asking me, what's the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard? And there is a difference. I used to think it was just the same, but a cemetery does not have a church in it, whereas a graveyard has got a church in it. And that's the difference. You might be asking Mastermind one day. Here we go, there's the first stone there. with a winged sole on it. It's got two skulls at the bottom, either side, looking left and right, and you've got this wee cherub face on it. That's a cracker. That's my favourite wee cherub face there. And the winged sole was basically just taking your soul up to heaven. What's interesting also about this one, you can't see it clearly here, but some of the stones have got text on the top, some of them have got text on the side, but one thing is about the text on it, there's quite a few in here which have got Latin inscriptions on it, which is quite interesting because very few people would write, never mind able to write Latin. So there must have been a scholar, maybe a teacher or a minister who practiced that, who was then able to apply that to some of the stones, or tell the mason rather to apply it to the stones. Now we'll just go over here and you'll see the first, what's called an obelix. And these things became quite popular during the Victorian period, as did a lot of broken columns, as there is just behind there. In fact, the first time I saw this broken column at the back here, that's the one there, I thought somebody had actually vandalised it, and I phoned the council. Says, that column there, I says, could you go down and fix it? He says, no son, he says, that's the way it's meant to be. It comes from kind of Greek and Roman times, and it just became popular with some folks to put these unusual carvings in. The best examples, of course, are the necropolis in Glasgow. Now here's a cracker. This one here, we uplifted this one probably about 15 years ago. It was lying face down the ground, nearly buried, and then we pulled it up and cleaned it up. And again, it's got a winged sole on there, hourglass. In here, it's hard to imagine, but there used to be a big tree stump in there. Kind of cleaned it up. But what's interesting about it is there's a couple of ministers who are buried in here, one of which is this chap down here. It's badly covered in the moss now. Is Archibald Foyer. Interesting guy for a number of reasons. He was the minister of the parish kirk around about 1700, but he was also one of the guys who wrote a book on the Darien scheme and why it was a disaster. That's when Scotland was trying to create its own empire out in Panama. It was a complete disaster, and most of the folks had died of various diseases and attacked by the Spanish and the English, and it led actually to Scotland losing its independence in some respect because it became bankrupt through that scheme. But Archibald Foyer wrote about it. Interesting thing about Archibald Foyer as well is he also once wrote a pamphlet in the village against a Mr. Shearer who was a farmer. And what's interesting, he appears to actually put a curse on the farmer, saying that he'd disappointed him and betrayed him. And the interesting thing about it is Mr. Shearer seems to admit that the curse was successful, and his cows and his hens actually grew the heads of women on their as animal stock, which is a bit odd because if you were a minister at that time, this was at a time when witchcraft was still prevalent, or the thought that witchcraft was prevalent in Scotland, when people were still being burned at the stake or drowned for their efforts. But the minister appears to put a curse. Now, normally he would be discommunicated or whatever it is they do to the ministers, but nothing happened to him. This is an interesting one as well. Again, right, same area. This was just an unusual stone, no markings on it whatsoever, but it's got this kind of triangle look for the top there. And it was only during some works we were doing a couple of years ago, where we had a couple of archaeologists along with us, and somebody specialised in stones recognise this actually as an 11th or 12th century stone. So that's the oldest stone in here by far, and that's well before times when headstones were actually became popular, which was probably around about the 1650s. Okay, I'm going to turn this off now and just take a wee drink before we carry on. Okay, that's us back again. We get a head up from the bottom corner here. Oh, things of interest. Folk actually asked me, why did they put headstones in here in the first place? Well, it was believed that by putting headstones in here in times of superstition that it would stop the dead from roaming. There's a lot of superstitions associated with graveyards. That's just one of them. There was also things called gate watchers as well. It was believed in days of old that these gate watchers, this would be basically the living dead. These people are just recently deceased. As they come into the graveyard, if they were the last to die, they would watch over the dead in here until such times as the next person died and was brought in. But it wasn't a good thing to be. It was a gate watcher, and people didn't want their deceased to be the last in. So what they'd do, they'd actually, if there was two maybe deaths in the community, they would actually try to get an early burial just to make sure that their loved one wasn't the last in. In fact, there's an occasion up in Mull, I think it was, where there was a race to the graveyard, and one family was taking too long to get to the graveyard with the coffin, so they took a shortcut to the wall instead of the gate and just threw the coffin over the top into the graveyard. And there was a one wee boy was said to, as he threw the coffin over in Gaelic, he says, "Yahoo!" he says, "My granny's won the race." And that meant that his granny wasn't the gate watcher for their on in. So we're just heading up the hill here, quite steep. Now whether this is actually natural or it is man-made is unclear, because it's believed that there may actually have stood, similar to Glassford, some standing stones here, which may have sat here maybe about 2000 BC possibly. But these are Stonehouse's standing stones now. This is one of the Masonic graves to James Todd. I think we've got a photograph of him. And there's a blacksmith's grave. I think it dates to about 1694 if I remember. And there's the horseshoes and the hammer which he used in the blacksmith shop. And coincidentally his name is actually, can't remember his first name, but I know his second name is Smith, which is quite appropriate for a blacksmith. In fact, there's quite a few appropriate named folks in the village. There was once a guy up in Westtown Farm that worked there, and he was a field drainer, and his name was William Sodden, which I thought was quite appropriate. This is us looking down here now on what I thought was, until recently, the oldest gravestone in the village. And this is the gravestone of the Hamilton family, and it's a cracker. It dates to 1651, and it's got the crest there of, in fact I better get around the other side, that's the armorial bearings of one of the Hamilton family there, and on this side you can see it better. You got a W of Williamson and H of Hamilton, and that's a family grave there. And this one here links into the Hamiltons of Raploch, which were a prominent family in the village. And if you can see it from the front, you'll see that this stone here is actually coped, as in it slopes down at that side, slopes down at that side, and that's just to allow the water to run off it. And there was probably a wing sole on there possibly at one time, but I think it's probably fallen off. But on the stone next to it you'll see a cracking example of a wing sole there, just taking your soul up to heaven. And it's got, is it Fui Horror? I can't remember what that means. A lot of them you'll see at Memento Mori, remember me in death. And here's another carving just as we're walking by, and it's just got D and H either side of what's it's a cutter. So that usually tells you what the trade of the person was. And a lot of these stones, as I said before, they don't actually have any text on them at all, just carvings. This is a nice wee one. I told you earlier about the heart, and that just meant divine love of God. But if you see the two hearts together here with an hourglass, just saying your time's run out, if you see the two hearts together, that's usually love for one another there. And that's a shearer headstone. And before I go over to the kirk, I'll just take you over to this one. There's a wee cracker here. It's a wee round one. You've probably seen it yourself, you've been up here before. Thought it's unusual. It's covered in moss now. Let's just get the skull and crossbones. And on the other side, it's got a wee implement down the bottom there. And what this is a mill wheel, and this is from Candor Mill. And that's the family that stayed there, and that's just one of the implements that's used in the mill. But it's round because of that, just to represent the mill wheel. I've also got an interesting one here, which very curious, but I think I've discovered what it is. This is a headstone, no text on it, but on the left hand side got a crest and what appears to be a tree on it, and that there is a Hamilton family crest, the tree on it, and it would probably say on it somewhere through, and through was the what would you call it, that was the word that described the family, all the different sayings. So that's quite a nice one as well. So let's head up towards the old kirk itself, just at the top of the brae. Here we are, just at kind of the top of the cemetery. A wee story Tom Sorby told me once about this place. 4 gentlemen from the village wanted to prove their bravery one night by coming up here in the middle of the night and proving their worth to one another by putting a stab in at one of the gravestones here, just to prove that they'd actually come up here in the middle of the night themselves. And they were all getting a wee bit foo, I suspect, but they decided they'd try and prove their bravery. And they come up here one after another, having chose a gravestone each where they would put their stab in the middle of the night, just to prove that they'd actually get up here. And one by one they did so, in the pouring rain it might be added. And they decided that they would meet each other at Stonehouse Cross and then walk up together just to see if their stabs were in. Now keeping in mind this is a good couple of 100 years ago, and they were wearing the old capes and they did the walking clays on and all the rest of it. And when they come up here, one of the gentlemen hadn't turned up at the cross, but they still come up anyway. And they thought they maybe see him up here, and lo and behold they did. They found their 3 stabs belonging to them, but the 4th gentleman, turned out he was actually lying over the top of one of the gravestones, and they're thinking, what's wrong with him, what's wrong with him? And here, lo and behold, he was actually dead. He was lying over the top of the gravestone. They sent for the local police, who actually at that time were based in Larkhall. And when they come up and they investigated it, it turned out what they think had happened is the guy was actually going to put his stab in just at the ground, just in front of the headstone. As he was firing it in with a big stick there, and then hitting it in with a hammer, they reckon that what he's done is he's put the stab in, he's put it actually through his cape, and when he's went to walk away, there's been a tug at his cape, and they probably reckoned that somebody was actually trying to tap him in the back of the shoulder, and he's taken a heart attack and fell dead on the gravestone. That's a true story, by the way. Now, where are we? Aye. Lots more wee carvings up here. I quite like this top bit because there's a lot of carvings up here. You'll find them in wee hidden places as well. Again, there's a chopper, a cutting tool there on the top, and I think it's called an angle as well. So that's another tradesman of the village. 1728, that one. In fact, before we go over the curtains, another interesting one over here which I quite like. There's a lot of carvings on some of the stones. I quite like this one. It's not been put together right. That's the bottom stone, this is the top stone. The other part of the stone is actually lying behind, they haven't put it up there. But you might see it. I've been posting stuff in poetry recently, and this is the grave of John Walker, a local poet. He was also, I think he was a clocksmith, and he'd done a lot of other things for that as well. But there's a wee carving at the front here which says, "And Christ bids all believers trust, their bodies shall rise from the dust with glorious and immortal forms, and leave corruption to the worms." In fact, another wee bit down the bottom there, and just see J. Kerr. He was a local mason for that one. In fact, just well, I'm done on all over the place here. This stone here, I actually pulled the grass back over the top of it when I was recording the stones. It actually sunk into the ground, dates to about 1700. It's called a table stone, that one, the flat ones. And there's also another wee Hamilton stone, which is quite a nice one, where the heart is upside down. I haven't quite had that one explained to me though, why the heart's upside down, but I think it's another Hamilton one, and that dates to about the late 1600s. So here we go, up to the old tower there, and the belfry up there, the old bell tower. I had that restored with the help of Councillor Dick Gibb in 1993. We managed to get some money for, I think it was Historic Scotland, about 19 grand, and we replaced some of the sections in the tower there, which preserved it. If I hadn't done that, then it would have probably fallen down like the one at Glassford. But as you look round the old kirk, it's only the gable end that's left. But if you look up the centre, there's a kind of gouge in down the side there, and that's where the rope came for pulling the bell at the top. In fact, the bell fell out of there actually a way back in the, I think it was 1850s, and it fell down the hill all the way down over the valley there. It's no, you can't see it very well here now, but it fell down into the valley below, and that's heading over, that looks over to Home Farm. And it was found by a Mr. Brown, who was a fisherman apparently, down at the bottom, brought back up. But it fell down one night when there was a storm, and that storm to this, or not to this day, but certainly at that time was called Letham's Wind. I don't think it was a medical problem, but it was just a storm. Oh, that's worth having a wee donor to as well. The top urn, I found that down the brae, took it to Patterson Church a few years ago, but this is the gravestone of Henry Angus Patterson of the Patterson Church. In fact, his niece married President Stein, the first president of South Africa. I don't know how I remember these wee useless bits of information, but where were they now? We're right in this is where the church would have been, and it was quite a long church, and most of the kirks nowadays, your lectern where the minister spoke would be in there, but in those days actually the lectern was actually at one of the sides of the church, and there was no seats in there. If you wanted a seat, you would need to be like Jenny Geddes and take the stool in with you. Well, I better tell you who Jenny Geddes was, but she was around about the Reformation. I think she'd have been in with Knox, but anyway. So, aye, and in days gone by, if you didn't go to the church, you didn't get an education. So, church was quite popular. In fact, there was a schoolhouse up here at one time. Unfortunately though, the old church fell into disrepair. I think the last was repaired in about 1734. But you would also come up here for other things like market fairs and that. In fact, that's why they put the wall round the side of these graveyards to keep all the sheep out eventually, because they were damaging some of the headstones and whatever. But you'd also come up here, you would serve punishment as well. You could sometimes get tied to the front door of the kirk by the kirk elders or the session clerk, and no release until you'd done your penance. And you would also do things like archery practice, and of course the usual weddings and funerals. In fact, in those days they would actually ring the bell up at the bell tower there as a sign. In fact, you need to pay for it, that somebody was getting married or somebody had died. But there was a time when folk actually thought the ringing of the bell was a bad thing and an omen that death was coming. But I can assure you, death's coming to us all. That's one guarantee. Yeah, this is a cheery subject. Right, so let's see what else we can see over here. Aye, we're just coming over. We'll go and take a wee walk out of the corner so you can get an idea of where we are. Might be worth noting actually, graveyards as well, unfortunately, they've actually found over the years that when they've opened up some of these graveyards in later years, that there's actually bodies have been buried alive, and what they think's happened there is, particularly during times of a plague, you can get the false illusion that somebody's actually dead when they're actually in a coma, and they reckon that 1 in 25 people at that point were actually alive when they were buried, and they know that because they found scratch marks on the inside of the coffin. So they tried to come up with some ideas to stop that happening. You might have heard the phrase dead ringer or saved by the bell. Well, that came from the time of the plague, when people were buried alive, because they came up with a wee device whereby they would get a wee stick, just like this one here, and it would be put outside the coffin there. It would be outside, but there'd be a wee bell on the top, and that wee bell would be attached to a bit of string, which would then go into the coffin, through the coffin, and they would tie it to the finger of the deceased. So if they woke up, they would just ring their bell with their finger. So that's where the phrase dead ringer came from, or saved by the bell. Can be useless information. So here we are, we're right in the corner here. You get a great view. That's where we were last week, down at the hospital. And this is a Swallow Brae. We're looking down here, down towards Hunter Bay, and then it loops round up the valley there, right up to Home Farm. In fact, just by Home Farm, just in the distance, there's a pathway up there. It's called the Cobars, and that was an ancient right away where they moved the cattle from one place to another, and that would take you up to Crofthead Farm. Just while we're on dead folk, and this is a place to be for dead folk, is some of these folks, just to make sure that they were actually dead in days gone by, there was all sorts of things they would do to you before they buried you, just to make sure you were dead, just in fear that you would wake up in a box and it was a bit dark. So there was, as well as doing the signalling devices, they would also mutilate the body, which if you weren't dead before, you certainly would be after. They would also do a thing called calling the dead. You might have heard of that before, where they basically shout really loudly down your lug hole just to make sure that you're dead. Or they'd give you what was called lying time, so a period of time where you were allowed to just lie in the house and rot away to your heart's content. Or a personal favourite of mine was actually pouring hot metal on your privates, and that would certainly wake you up if you weren't dead before, and I think if you weren't dead you would want to be dead after. And the other one was brain removal. It was popular to actually remove the brain before you were buried, and then they put the brain back in, of course. Not that it would work, but it would make sure you were dead. However, that usually didn't work with politicians. Again, another wee winged soul. And that takes us to the next bit as well. Some of you might have heard of the Covenanter James Thompson, and he was killed at the Battle of Drumclog in 1679. And here's the very chap here, and that's his gravestone. That was actually erected in 1734, some years later, because after the Battle of Drumclog, the country was still in religious turmoil at the time, and if you were caught burying a Covenanter in support of the Covenant, you could have been buried yourself. In fact, that's the case. There's several cases of that having happened in Stonehouse, where people were threatened, if you bury anybody here, we're going to hunt you down. Equally, the townsfolk of the village done that to chase local ministers away, and there's a case of that happening here in Stonehouse with Margaret Law, but that's for another time. But this is the gravestone of James Thompson. And he lived at Tanhull Farm, which is just on the border with Lesmahago, and he was one of only 5 men killed at the Battle of Drumclog. And I was told about this stone as a boy, but I was told of it in a different way, and most of you might know this story already. But locally this is called the Bloodstone. and it was called the Bloodstone because on the top of it, it was claimed, in fact before I even found this I was told the story, I didn't know it was over here, whereby if you put your finger in a skull up in the graveyard, the skull would bite your finger and it would come out dripping with blood. And I thought, alright, okay, I'm not too sure about that, but I'm not coming up here myself. But lo and behold, many years later, I came up here and it was actually the Covenanter stone, and there it is on the top of the stone. There's the head there, and what have we got below? There's a hole at the mouth, and that just reminded me of when I was told the story. And here, what happens if you put your finger in there? Well, let's see. Put the finger in there, we'll see what happens. Goes in quite deep actually. Here, lo and behold, look at that. It's kind of red, you see that? Well, as you guess, it's not blood, but what it is, if you look at the stone a bit closer, there's a red ochre seam which the mason has cut into the stone, which goes right through the stone and into the hole of the head, to give the illusion that when you put your finger in and it's been raining, it fills up, it comes out dripping red. And I just love that story. So sometimes these old myths actually turn out to be true, and that's one of them. So that's the Covenanter stone. The stone above it is actually his table stone, which was put in a few years later, in 1832, by his family. Let's have a wee break there, and another wee drink. Now that's us here at the kind of end section of the wee tour here. Just get to say a wee thing about some of the trees you might find in here. There's quite a number of what are called evergreens here, and there's a reason for that. We've got a yew trees of course down there, and it was just to symbolise life eternal and life forevermore, that life goes on, and that's why they're there. In fact, there's a number of trees which are actually just in the edge of the graveyard there, and they're all elder trees. I come up here and I cut it back every year, because what happens is sometimes the elder tree actually cuts in to the stone as you go here, and it can break the stone up, so I just come up and cut them back. In fact, the elder tree, it's surprising it's actually inside the graveyard here, but in days gone by it was seen as a curse, and it wasn't good to have elder trees in graveyards. It was a sign of bad luck and a omen. In fact, in days gone by, another thing it was used for, elder tree, in fact every tree in here's got a purpose, but you would actually use for treating sword wounds. It could also be used for treating warts and mad dog bites, which is a bit of an odd one. And it was also used when it was boiled, the bark of it was used to cure epilepsy. In fact, another unusual cure for epilepsy, it's just come to me, is that if you ground down the bones of the departed and then mixed it in with water and then mixed it into the skull of the deceased, it would be used as a drinking concoction for solving epilepsy. I'm not sure how popular it was, but I suspect it wasn't as popular as Iron Brew, but anyway. So we'll just kind of head over here and see a few more stones as we kind of head out. As I said before, there's more lichen in this graveyard than any other graveyard in the country. And we know that because it's been recorded. In fact, we've recorded every stone in here in detail, and we've had it all put onto disc, analysed. We've got all the families recorded, so if you're ever up here and you want to trace your family, get in contact with Heritage Group first, and we will see what we can do to kind of help you find family up here. In fact, there's quite a few nice stones up here. This is, I can't remember the name of the guy here, but this is a lovely one. The book up the top's just the Bible, but some nice carvings there. You've also got, we're talking about famous folk, where is he? He's actually, in fact, see the big obelisk down there? That's Alexander. That's the Hamilton family who donated the public park to Stonehouse. And he made a fortune before the First World War making khaki uniforms, and then he invested his money in Kidderminster carpets. He made another fortune, but he never forgot Stonehouse, and he donated £500 which went towards purchasing the public park in Stonehouse, which is actually named that, not after him but actually after his grandfather. Another useless fact. So we're just coming to the end here. There's nobody been buried in here for a long time now. The new cemetery in Manchros Road replaced this about 1903. I'm not sure when the last burial was. It's probably during the wartime, but there's not a lot of room left here. We've recorded 425 stones in here, but in total there's certainly over probably 700, 800 graves somewhere here. Many of them probably lie below the grounds. In the days gone by, you could actually buy a lair up here. In fact, I bought wife Helen a lair. I didn't know what to buy her for her birthday last year, so I bought her a lair for the graveyard, and she wasn't happy this year when it came round to her birthday and I hadn't bought her anything. She says, "Why have you not bought me anything?" And I says, "Well, you never used last year's birthday present." That's me going to get killed when I get home. Now, just a wee point here. This is just put in recently. This tells you a wee bit about the graveyard. The Heritage Group were assistants an artist in Susan Buckham, who works with a National Stones project recording these sites, helped create this board. And that just tells you a wee bit of what's actually in the graveyard. So if you're coming up, have a wee read at it and explore the graveyard yourself. For me, one of the stones that actually means a bit to myself is actually this one here. And it's just a Celtic cross, nothing unusual about it in many respects, but it's the grave of the Gray family, and that was actually pushed over by vandalism away back in the very early 90s, late 80s. But we had it restored. That was the first one to get uplifted, and that was a graze of Stonehouse cross. Unfortunately, I didn't know at the time that the stone was meant to be facing east, and we got it erected the wrong way around, so I'm always learning. And that was the first one that started the project to restore the graveyard. And some of you might remember back in the 80s and early 90s, the grounds here, they weren't being kept, but through perseverance of the Heritage Group and folks locally, we've encouraged the council to do a lot of repairs, and they repaired all the walls in here with lime mortar. We've had the old cut repaired, I say 150 stones raised, and I think what it's done is encourage the people, and especially young ones, to look after the site. So there I've got a wee pal in there, I dug in. So that's a wee tour of the graveyard. I hope you enjoyed the tour, and I'll post this for you later, and you can come up here and find out for yourself a wee bit more about the history of the site. Bye for now. I just thought I'd take a wee donor in here just on the way back here, just to show you the Manchros Cemetery. I'm not sure how well that's shown up there with the light, but that's the old memorial there to the war dead. It was actually put in here in 1921, a few years later after the First World War, and that's the seat that was recently put in just a few years ago to commemorate that. This is quite a nice cemetery actually. I've been up here before. It's worth a donor around. There's some nice old carvings, and there's some unusual things about the cemetery which students of graveyards and ancient stones and all that come up here and have a wee look, because there's odd things, like for instance all these shells and carvings that you see. Most of these have been taken out graveyards now, but they've actually left them in here. Worth saying that the memorial here, it's got the war dead of the First World War and the Second World War, but the Heritage Group a few years ago managed to find out a few more people who had either come from the village and moved away, or for various reasons hadn't been put onto the war memorial. And we've done some research, and lo and behold, there was quite a few, so we thought it was right that we commemorate them. So we organised getting some funding together. The late Willie Mackey was involved in that, getting the funding. Most of the research was done by Jim Davidson. Unfortunately Jim had died before seeing this, but we got the men at the village, and there's a woman there as well, not in this section, but in the village, who was on war memorials, applied to the stone here. So I think it's good that we did that, and it's a lovely site. It's quite very peaceful and worth a donor on the way. Say George Brown actually was the architect for Stonehouse that designed this, and it's still used today. There's a few folk in the village have got rights to the lair and are still buried here today. And we'll just take a walk out. So there we go, folks. We've done a wee tour of the graveyard. Not sure where I'm off to next, but just continue to walk if you can, to exercise, but do so safely. But try and get a wee bit of history while you're doing that on the way, and learn a bit about the community you live in. So stay safe, and we'll catch you up another time. Bye for now.